Okay, welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into some really interesting reflective writings. We're pulling specific excerpts titled Talking About Jesus from a source we've got labeled cc40.pdf.
Right. And our mission here is really to explore the core ideas these writings present about prayer, about building a relationship, moving, beyond seeing it as just transactional, like asking for things. It's more towards a deeper, sort of more intimate connection. These writings offer a particular view on what it means to truly seek and wait spiritually.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've ever felt that prayer is mostly just about, well, making requests, or maybe you struggle with distraction when you try to connect, this deep dive might offer a different way to think about it. Let's unpack this source material. So right at the start, the source kind of challenges that common perception, doesn't it? It doesn't paint this picture of a distant savior. Instead, it says Jesus is near, describes him as closer than breath, ready to receive and comfort right away. It mentions his call for intimate communion and seeking with a humble heart. Why start there?
Well, it's interesting because it immediately flips the perspective. It's not about us trying to bridge some huge gap. It assumes he's already close, already ready. That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From trying to perform or reach out to simply drawing near to someone who's, well, already right there. It just asks for humility, for love.
Drawing near. That seems to lead right into the next idea the source talks about quite a bit. The beauty of waiting. If he's already near, how do you engage with that? The writing describes waiting, but not anxiously.
Exactly. It uses the phrase quiet confidence, and this waiting, it's not passive, it's not just sitting around doing nothing. The source is quite clear. It's being attentive, expectant, and in step. It uses that analogy, sitting at your seat like Mary, choosing the one thing necessary, which it says is that fellowship, that connection. So waiting becomes this active, focused presence with him.
Right. Being attentive and expectant definitely requires focus. And that's the next thing this source really hits hard. Keeping your eyes fixed solely on Jesus in prayer. It warns against being double-minded or distracted by the world, self, fear. That feels like a huge challenge today.
Yeah.
How does it suggest we do that?
Yeah, it's tough. It suggests prayer itself is the window to see him clearly. The goal isn't getting blessings, but it's to behold your face. The text implies this intense focus actually clears away the fog. The fog of self, fear, ambition really anchors prayer in the relationship itself, in seeing and being with, rather than just using it as a tool to get things.
And focusing on seeing and being with seems key to how it views the reason for seeking in the first place. It draws a contrast, mentioning Jacob wrestling, and calls it not wrestling for blessings. It argues against approaching mainly for what you can give.
This is where it gets really specific about motivation. The preference here is coming simply for who you are. It's not just words. It's about shifting from desperation to get something towards devotion to give myself fully. Wanting to cling to Jesus because he is the desire of my soul, not just because you need a blessing or a breakthrough right now. It completely reframes the why.
Okay, which seems to build naturally to the final point the source really emphasizes, finding delight in presence, even if it's silent. Even if prayers seem unanswered in the way you hoped, the writing says the reason to rejoice is because your presence is the blessing.
Absolutely. That's sort of the culmination of this whole perspective shift. The source says it plainly. You, O Lord, are my portion, my inheritance, my reward. Jesus himself is the fulfillment of every promise. The point isn't getting something through the presence. The presence itself is the goal, the reward. So if you pull all these ideas together, the nearness, this active waiting, the single focus, seeking the relationship over the reward, and finding delight just in being present, these writings, taken together, they suggest a pretty profound shift in how we think about spiritual connection. It's moving away from performance and asking towards stillness, presence, relationship, rooted in love and surrender.
Yeah, and that really does feel like a significant counterpoint to how prayer or seeking is often, maybe sometimes unconsciously, approached more transactionally. So boiling it down, the core message from these writings seems to be about reframing spiritual connection, not seeing it just as a way to ask for things, but as an end in itself. Being present, waiting attentively, keeping focus, and finding the real reward is simply in the presence.
Exactly. These writings really challenge that common notion that prayer is mainly a tool to change circumstances. Instead, they propose it's an invitation to be transformed yourself through that connection. And that leaves an important question, maybe, for you listening. What might change in your own approach if the main goal wasn't getting something, but simply being present with the divine?
Powerful ideas to reflect on, definitely. Drawn straight from the source material. Something to think about.